What's up guys, welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. Today we're going to be looking at recording, assuming that you're completely new to the wonderful world of recording audio and making it sound good. We're going to look at this in kind of like a timeline almost, like the chain of where the audio flows. So it starts off and at the source and then goes on until it goes out your headphones or speakers. So we're just going to go through it like the chain of recording basically, or we call it the signal flow. The first step in the chain is the source. So if you're a vocalist, that's your voice. If you're a musician, that's your instrument or whatever else you want to record. Now what I'm going to say now may seem a little obvious, but a lot of people tend to forget this, including myself. So it's always good to be reminded. Make sure your source sounds as good as it possibly can before you ever hit record. So tune those drums, get new strings on your guitar, warm up your voice, do whatever you have to do. If you have a crappy instrument or a crappy performance, no amount of recording technique or gear is going to fix that. Another thing to be aware of is your room. When you make sound, that sound will go and bounce all around all over the place, and that will come back into the microphone and get this weird slapback echo that just sounds terrible. No one wants that. And to correct this, you don't necessarily need to go out and get really fancy acoustic foam or whatever. You can just put up some blankets and bookshelves, just anything to kill those echoes, something to dampen them. Okay, now that the source is ready, you need something to capture that source. If you have something like an electronic drum kit or maybe a bass guitar or a synthesizer, you can just run a guitar cable from it and into your audio interface and record it direct, but I'll get to that in a bit. For most stuff, you'll need a microphone. Now there are two different kinds of microphones that you need to know about, and they're both built differently, and the different build affects the way they sound. The first type of mic is a dynamic. Dynamics are essentially powered by sound. There's a small thingy inside here called the diaphragm, and when there's sound, it moves, and that's converted into audio signal. When there's no sound to capture, it essentially has the functionality of a brick. What this does is it makes the mic very good at rejecting the sound around it, making it very popular for live sound, since it's not as sensitive. Dynamics also tend to be better at handling very loud noises without overloading. Another effect of its not being crazy sensitive is that these tend to have a darker, more muted sound. The other main kind of mic is a condenser, which is what I am using right now. Condensers, unlike dynamics, are always on. They have an outside source of power, which I'll get into in a sec. Condensers have a faster response to sound, so they're way more sensitive, and have more of a reach than dynamics. They also tend to have a sound that's more crisp and clear. Condensers are the kind of mic that you'll see most often in the studio, and dynamics are what you'll see most often live. Both are great for different situations. For instance, a while back I was recording a friend of mine who sings and plays acoustic guitar. So for one of the songs that we recorded, he played with a pick and used lots of open chords. And to capture the brightness and airiness of his guitar, I used a condenser, and that picked up that quality of his guitar very, very well. And for another song, he fingerpicked. And for that, I ended up using the Shure SM57, a dynamic, on his guitar, and the darker, rounder sound complemented his playing perfectly. If you can only get one mic, I would recommend making it a condenser. They tend to be very versatile, have a very studio sound, and the more sensitivity will help when recording stuff like drum overheads. As for price, $100 to $200 is really all you need to get a totally legit studio quality mic. Something like the Rode NT1A or the Behringer B1. If you start to get into the more like $1,000 mics, you tend to have a mic that'll sound mind-blowing on a few specific things, but just kind of meh on other stuff. With a more budget mic, they tend to sound pretty darn good on just about everything. Any cheaper and the manufacturer has to start cutting corners, so I would keep it to about $100, $200. If you are able to get a second mic, the same price thing applies. I'd recommend going with a Shure SM57. This is a fantastic mic used all the frickin' time, both in pro studios and for live sound. Most microphones, both dynamic and condenser, are cardioid. This basically means that they pick up sound from one side. So think of it like a flashlight. The mic sees mostly what's directly in front of it, in its beam, so to speak. It hears just a little bit of what's to the sides, and then just completely rejects sound that comes from the back. This is used to the audio engineer's advantage when placing a mic on a source because, depending on the angle of the mic, the sound can change a lot. This is used to the audio engineer's advantage when placing a mic, as slight changes in the position and the angle of the mic can have huge effects on the sound. Another result of the mic being cardioid is a thing called the proximity effect. The proximity effect says that the closer a mic is to the source, the more bass it's going to pick up. This can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the situation. So for people doing voiceover like I am now, they tend to get very close to the mic, and it sounds big and beefy and full. For someone singing, you don't really want that much bass. In fact, you want no bass. And so you usually back the guy up about a foot from the mic. That'll get you some nice fullness without that muddy low end. In the description, I have a ton of different links, and these are all links to videos and articles about recording a bunch of different instruments with one condenser microphone. I highly recommend you check all those out. Great resource there. But don't do it till the video's over. For now, just know that the position, closeness, and angle of the mic relative to the source will make a huge difference in the way the recording is going to sound. So spend a lot of time experimenting with where you put the mic. Alrighty, now that we have a good sounding source and a good sounding mic, we need a way to convert the analog mic signal into digital and to get that signal into the computer. We also need a way to power the condenser mic, like I mentioned earlier. To do this, we need an audio interface, like the one I use, the PreSonus Audio Box USB. You plug the mic into one end with an XLR cable, then plug the other end directly into your computer with USB or FireWire. You can also plug an electronic instrument, like a bass guitar or synthesizer, directly into the interface with a guitar cable. As for power for the condenser mic, the audio interface will supply this right through the mic cable. Pretty simple. The other purpose the audio interface serves is amplification for your microphones. If you've ever played an electric guitar, you know it's crazy quiet without an amp, almost inaudible. Mics are sort of like this. They need their really quiet signals brought up to a usable level. Audio interfaces have devices called preamps built in that do exactly that. So now you've mic'd up your instrument, adjusted the preamp volume, and plugged your audio interface into your computer. Now you need some software and you're ready to record. These are also known as digital audio workstations, or DAWs. There are tons of different DAWs out there, and all the major ones are great. Pro Tools, Studio One, Logic, Reason, Reaper, Cubase, and a ton of others. Just pick one and go with it. Don't spend too much time worrying about which one to go with. If you're going to be producing electronic music, your DAW choice becomes a bit more important because now you're dealing with virtual instruments and MIDI and all that kind of stuff. But for just basic recording and mixing, all DAWs do the same thing and have the same audio quality and work great, so just pick whichever one works best for you and go with it. And that's about it. Once you've got that, you'll need a way to hear the audio, and studio monitors tend to be pretty expensive, so if you're starting out on a budget, I would recommend getting a nice pair of headphones. I have a couple of links in the description for a couple different pairs of headphones that you can check out that tend to have a very accurate sound. And after that, you'll need just a couple accessories, a mic stand and a pop filter. Real quick, let me just demonstrate what a pop filter is for. Here's with a pop filter, and here's without a pop filter. The P's and B's, called plosives, will pop the mic, and that's nasty. You don't ever want that. It sounds super unprofessional, and it's very easy to fix. Pop filter, get it for like 15 bucks. So now all you have to do is just record your music. As I mentioned before, in the description there are links for a ton of videos and articles for recording a bunch of different sources with one or two mics. Definitely give those a look. And if you'd like to look into how the recording process usually goes, check out this older video I did right here, and I'll also have that link in the description. That's it for today. If you found this helpful, be sure to share it with anyone you know who wants to get into recording, and to subscribe for more Audio Geek videos. I do a new Audio Geek video every single Thursday, and release a new electronic song every single Monday. So I will see you guys next week. Peace out.